before we start, do you guys want to take a little poll and see, or maybe we'll see, like, are we going to overlap characters or not? And we'll see who wins.
What's the percentage that will overlap?
Like, or are we just gonna have a double somewhere on here between any of us, or do we think that we've all have our own? Go ahead, Ty.
I weirdly think that Marcus, I think me and you are gonna cross over twice. I just have a feeling.
No way.
But
Okay.
I don't think I'm gonna cross over with Kev.
They're gonna cross swords. It's funny you say that because Ty, when you were mentioning like the anti-hero thing, all of a sudden I looked at my list and I'm like, son of a bitch, I think we may overlap, but I don't know. We'll find out. Marcus, I don't know, man, because you keep saying you have like out of the box things, and I feel like my things aren't like they're pretty much in the box and it's sealed for the most part.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Paul. I don't know, man. We'll see.
I'm gonna go the way saying that we're not gonna. I don't think any of us are gonna cross over. I have a feeling.
I kind of thought. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, with that being said, I'll start with my first. My first is going to be one that I have talked about time and time again of I think this should happen. There were rumors of this happening, and then it fell by the wayside and blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of got a rendition of this individual in a show. But I definitely think it's time for a movie. I think you can do a movie and it'll do well. That character, my friends, is Nightwing. I think the character of Nightwing lends itself to a really, really compelling story. If we could tell, and I know they briefly touched on it in Titans. Oh, well, I shouldn't say briefly. I mean, you kind of got understanding of where him and Bruce stood. But I think he deserves a film. I think he deserves a higher budget than what Titans could serve. So I definitely think the dynamic relationship between him and Bruce, and to see their fallout, and for Dick Grayson to eventually go down his own path of being a vigilante, I think would be a great story. I think it would. I think everybody's familiar with the character of Nightwing. So I definitely think as a Batman property right there from a business perspective, I think to me, I think it would be a really smooth transition. I did say that, he would be familiar to the masses and things like that. So I just think the story of Nightwing would, I don't know. I just think it would work as far as a film goes. So I don't know. There's not much more than that. I just think that out of my list, I think that's it seems like the most safe choice as far as a comic book character transitioning into a movie or having their own solo film. And I definitely think he's a character that would deserve that. So Nightwing, come on, let's get on it. Let's have a Nightwing film. I'm ready. We're ready. So that's my first choice.
So I lost because we did cross over with that as one of my choices. Right off the bat, man, son of a gun.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I'll talk about it later, so that way we're not just going back to back on it. But that's a great choice, Kev. I mean, obviously, as you'll hear when I talk about it, I feel exactly the same way that you do. So
yeah, that's awesome.
That's such a good choice too. But yeah, maybe no. You know what? Screw it. I'll just go into it now that way we're not going back again. So obviously, Nightwing. It's just to maybe I'm sure everybody by this point probably knows who Nightwing is, but just in case they don't, we'll go back to it again. Just lightly touch on it. Dick Grayson, who we all know is the original Robin. Eventually he outgrew that position and was inspired by Superman to become Nightwing. While Jason Todd and Tim Drake took over for him as Robin after that. So just again touching on it, after 6 years of being Robin, he was shot in the shoulder by the Joker, and that prompted Batman to want to end his time as being Robin, basically telling him, no, you're not doing this anymore. He moved out of Wayne Manor, went to college, and continued to fight alongside with the Teen Titans. And since his identity as Robin wasn't a fit anymore, he wanted to adopt a new identity, and that's when he became Nightwing. So I do think it would be, Kev, you mentioned it already, but just the dynamic between him and Bruce and the falling out that they've had together, and how much resentment that Dick holds on to that. It would be cool to see the story about Dick's transition from being in Batman's shadow to stepping out and then leading the Teen Titans on his own. And then, it would be an interesting point of view to see an entire film from his perspective. And then, it could be emotional because, Batman and Superman can make appearances inside of the movie too. Not to make it about them, but they can step in and can have cameos. That would be really cool. And just to see it from that point of view, because we don't ever talk about Robin. We don't talk about Dick Grayson because it's Batman's gay sidekick, so it's like everybody's like, haha, I can laugh at him. But like he's actually, it's a really compelling character, and I think it would be a awesome movie to have to see on the live screen. So I agree with you, Kev.
Cool, man. Good choice, dude. Good choice.
Solid choice.
Ty's like, my first choice is Nightwing. And
no, not in the slightest. If you know me,
so
my first choice already has a fantastic television series. It lasted 8 seasons, but my boy Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, deserves the spotlight on the movie scene. I'll give you 2 examples right now. For one, we can go with the Joker route, right? The run-of-the-mill, like, one-off. But you can do, like, a Lost-style series of Oliver Queen, this, rich playboy, gets, lost out to sea, brought up on the island, and has to survive on said island. You can do, a storyline where he finds, this cocaine plant and, decides that he uses his newfound, archery skills from hunting and surviving to put a stop to this. You can make it the Joker, the Joker style, but in the same universe, but call it, the Island or the Arrow, right? My other thing is, I'm a big fan of Rebirth, especially for Green Arrow. The story between Oliver and the Ninth Circle, who are, trafficking people, I think that could relate great to the big screen. With Rebirth, it's most of these heroes don't know about their last 15 years in their lifestyle because of what's been going on behind the scenes. It's the Wally West from the New 52 who's trying to alert the new Rebirth characters of what's going on. And it just, that story sticks to me. It could be interesting, with the especially with the trafficking. It's something big going on in our world today. And when you eventually get down to the Ninth Circle, it's these hellish characters that are reborn through fire that have these special powers. But there's so many Green Arrow stories that can go so well on the big screen. Whether you bring up Count Vertigo, whether it's the typical drug dealer one from the Arrow TV series, or the one with powers in the comic series. There's so many rogue gallery villains that the Green Arrow has that could portray and help push a movie very well. I want justice for Oliver. Put him on the big screen. Put him in the Justice League. He is the most underrated character in the DC universe. Maybe not most. That's pushing it. But I love him so much, and I want to see that man on the big screen.
I had a feeling that was going to be your first choice.
Yeah.
The Green Arrow, what?
The Green, what? I've always loved Oliver Queen and Bruce Wayne's relationship, especially in the Dark Knight Returns. So I always, at some point in my lifetime, I definitely want to see a crossover with those two guys. I mean, just two rich white dudes.
Just trying to do good.
Just trying to do good and dress in, one's a bat, one's in a Robin Hood costume, and just run around the city. When you say this stuff out loud, you're like, how does it work? And how is this believable? But somehow it is, and we made a whole podcast about it. But that's a good choice, my friend. I would be down for an Arrow or a Green Arrow movie. Marcus, you watched the show, right?
Yeah. I didn't keep up to date throughout all the seasons, but I did watch the show. I thought it was played really well on TV. And
Stephen Amell.
Stephen Amell. Yeah. He was awesome as it. And it would be cool to see the relationship between him and the Flash too, whoever that ends up being, if that movie was made, because they have a really good relationship in the comics too, and so it would be cool to see that on screen. And then again, you can, like as mentioned before, you can still have cameos from Superman and Batman coming in, Wonder Woman, because he's always part of the Justice League, so it does play very well. you can have interconnected stories, and I just think it's a solid choice at the time.
Yeah, and Hal Jordan too. You have a whole comic series between the Green Arrow and Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And they they're wild tag team event of going around the Earth. There's plenty there. I've ever since getting the DC universe, but now it's like DC Infinite, I believe. I've done my research and reading all those comics because I've wanted to know more about Oliver and his past ever since being sold by Stephen Amell and his great portrayal of the Green Arrow in Arrow. And, the more I read about him, the more I fall in love with the character, and I just want to see more. So, yeah.
Solid choice, man.
Good choice, dude.
Number two.
My next choice is actually an adversary that was portrayed in the Arrow series that I think would make a really compelling movie. And we kind of got a taste of him in our little Snyderverse, as all the kids are calling it nowadays. So I'm going to say that I think the character of Deathstroke should have his own film. I think I was trying to think of, I thought, okay, well, we had Todd Phillips' Joker. What villain do I think could deserve a film? I mean, and then I was going through the Batman villains, and Batman has probably hands down the best villains. I mean, Spider-Man's a close second, in my opinion. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people might disagree, but whatever. But I thought, out of all his villains, sure, he's got a lot of great villains, but who could actually have their own standalone movie, and which villain do I think it could work for? So Deathstroke came to mind. I think showing Deathstroke, like his military background, and really going in depth of who this character is. Many people maybe have seen him as just the villain, but making him vulnerable, showing an emotional side to him. And I think Deathstroke could be that villain. I think you could get a nice mixture of learning his backstory, his family, where he came from, and then eventually, the film progresses into where, he's provided this drug that allows him to activate 90% of his brain, and he becomes the super soldier, so to speak. I know that's in a different, it's not in the same comic book universe. That's more of a Marvel thing, but I'm going to use it. Super soldier mercenary that we know Deathstroke is. So I think the combination of learning who Slade Wilson is and why he became what he became, and learning why he became the villain. So you would have this really in-depth character. And I know some people go, well, I don't want to sympathize with the villain, but I think that makes a really compelling story. And then at the same time, you would have really kick-ass fight choreography, which we all love. And I think we got a taste of in the Daredevil series. Zack Snyder did it in Batman v Superman with the warehouse scene. So you could only imagine what Deathstroke fight scenes would be. But it's not just about that. I just think that he's a character where I think a lot of people would invest their time in and have. I know Deathstroke has had his own solo comic book series. I mean, he's been an enemy of the Teen Titans and shit. When you do the Nightwing solo film, you could do a Deathstroke solo film, and then you could cross paths with those guys. I think they'll make
exactly what you did there.
Thank you. Just thought of that shit right now. But yeah, so I don't know. I would love to see a Deathstroke film. I know they released an animated movie, DC. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it yet.
Not yet.
You seen it, Ty? Oh, it looks pretty good. So I'll have to check that out. But Deathstroke, yeah, I think he would definitely work on the big screen, and I think he's a villain, anti-hero, whatever you want to call him, that deserves his own movie. So.
That's a solid choice too, man. Deathstroke, right? I mean, I think that what is Joe Tangerine? He said that he didn't want his version of Deathstroke was he didn't want to have the super soldier serum or with powers. He wanted to be just like Batman, but just took a different route. So that would have been really interesting if we would have got to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think his name was really Tangerine?
No. I'm just.
Because when I was like laughing, you like made this face. You're like, it is Tangerine, right, guys? Yeah. It's like I don't even know what Tangelo, Manganiello,
yeah.
Mango Jello, Mango Jello, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's solid, dude. I would love to see that.
Yeah,
Uh,
me too.
you guys ready to start getting real obscure?
Yep, let's get
Yeah,
it.
man, let's get weird. Let's get weird,
It's
dude.
gonna get real weird. I don't think that it's gonna be. I don't think that this is for the big screen. I think this might be more something like a series on TV or something, maybe HBO Max. But okay, so we're gonna stick with DC, and we're gonna go to a character who's called the Question, and
Uh,
for people that don't know who that is, he's a detective with no actual superpowers. In a way like Batman, where he's incredibly smart. He's always solving crimes. He is interrogating people. Is really good at interrogation because he has a flesh-colored mask that's just basically skin with no human features. So there's no nose, there's no eyes, there's no lips, there's no nothing. It's just blank. Um, and it works when he's interrogating people because they're scared because he's creepy as hell when he does that. And he's also incredibly smart. Here's where I think this will work. So he's got all these like crackpot conspiracy theories because he's super paranoid all the time. He's always going through people's trash and like I was reading that, I was like, what? Driving cars with no license plates on them, and believes that everything that he does is like connected to some sort of big like paranoid conspiracy with the world. He's worked with the Justice League before, and they thought he was absolutely nuts because when he would always say like.
Yeah.
There's connections between boy bands and global warming and Girl Scouts and crop circles, and they're just like, what the fuck? This guy's nuts. And but I mean, some of his wild theories did come true, and so he gained Batman's respect, and Batman appointed him to look into Lex Luthor when he needed to help him with stuff. So it seems like he could be like a weird, like funny, strange character to put on screen, and like the interactions between the Justice League would be cool to watch. Just giving DC like maybe a little bit more weird, something to put inside their universe. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
good
that-
choice, man. I thought about him.
I don't even know anything about the Question, and that that's interesting itself. It reminds me of, the guy with the skin face. Kind of reminds me of Watchmen when they had the guy who put on the mask that had no emotions and stuff, and it like made people tell the truth.
Oh, Rorschach?
Yes. No.
Yeah. Oh,
No, it was the guy who was questioning people, and he would put on that mask that was just like kind of blank, but made people like tell the truth. I forget the name. It was from the HBO Max, HBO series.
Oh, I didn't watch that series. Okay,
Yeah, I watched the
okay.
series,
I guess.
Yeah, so there was
Yeah, I
so
didn't
he
watch
had
the
put on
series
this
either.
mask, and it was kind of blank, and he was able to like pull the truth out of people from like questioning them. But yeah, that's interesting. I'd be down for that. Some just run of the mill guy, no superpowers, just smart as hell, and helping out fellow superheroes. I see that awesome, especially as a TV series and as a film.
It would be funny just to but like I was reading like I could just picture this guy just like rummaging through trash and just like this like those fucking boy bands and like this it's because of global warming and like these Girl Scout cookies and because of crop circles and like just like thinking he's absolutely out of his mind, but he's
Picture like Batman rolling up on him, just like he's fucking going. He's going through the trash again. He's going through the trash again. He keeps wanting to join our league, and this dude he's going through the trash again. What are you trying to find there? And first off, what's with your skin mask? What is this?
You could take
You sold me
comedy show.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. You sold me when you were like just watching the Justice League. Like, what the fuck? This guy's like, I'm telling you, there's aliens, and they're like, okay, sure. Even though Superman, I guess, is an alien. So,
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think maybe it'd be a comedy series, the first DC comedy series.
It would be
interesting. Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm sold. I'll tune in if that happens.
All right.
All right, so let me roll into my number 2, which is the second Boy Wonder, Jason Todd, but as the Red Hood, because there is so much potential with this character. You got in the comics the Red Hood and the Outlaws, but my perspective on a solo film for the Red Hood would be, the perspective of Jason Todd through Under the Red Hood. Instead of, Batman trying to figure out who this guy is wearing this red mask, who's, being a nuisance to him and trying to kill the Joker, you start with Jason Todd getting killed by the Joker. You watch that, you start with that gruesome scene, you watch it and you feel every blow, and he comes to life, whether it's through the Lazarus pit or whatever else. And you flash forward to him going through his life and setting up to get his kind of revenge on Batman. And I think it would be a cool film to watch through his perspective. We haven't seen what he's gone through, what he feels. We've seen it from Batman's side. So I think that in itself would be very interesting as a solo film, because we want to, I feel for Jason Todd as it was, but just to see his perspective, what he's gone through, and the ups and downs of being killed by the Joker and the way he was to coming back to life, and planning his revenge on Batman and Joker is an interesting story in itself, especially from his perspective. There's plenty of room and fun with him. You could be brutal, you could be funny, because he's done both in the comics. I love the character of the Red Hood. It's very ominous at points, and he's just a guy who, even his younger self, he's just been a rebel all his life. And if he wants something, he does it. And if he doesn't like something, he'll go after it, and take it down. So I don't know. I think the Red Hood and Jason Todd would be a fantastic, even trilogy. Solo film, yes. Trilogy would be even better to me.
Yeah, man.
You sold me when you said from Jason Todd's perspective.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. Because Jason felt as if Bruce
abandoned him, left him, yeah. Because he got Tim Drake right after that, he just went on to the next Robin.
Sure. And Jason Todd's story is really heartbreaking. He was doing his job and unfortunately, was murdered by the Joker and then resurrected by Ra's al Ghul in the Lazarus pit, which we all know when you come back, you ain't the same guy. So it is a very traumatic story, and I think it's especially under the Red Hood movie, it's you get elements of Jason Todd and feeling for him, but it's more of Batman trying to ask for forgiveness. But I think from Jason Todd's perspective of what he went through, I think would be really compelling, man. That's a really good choice.
Thanks.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
It's always been something I would have liked to have seen too, Ty. Especially like getting brutally murdered like in that way that he did, and not that he like has to recover from that because he's dead, right? So he just gets resurrected. But it would be cool to just see it like that whole transformation, and then figure out his motives from his point of view, not from Batman's. So it would be totally awesome. And then, like you said, right? You said you threw the like sequel and trilogy. I mean, second movie could be him versus Batman. That would be super cool. And then in the third movie, they team up together to take down somebody. So there's a whole arc right there that you can go through.
Isn't Red Hood a part of that team called the Outlaws?
Yeah, Red Hood and the Outlaws. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was even thinking that could be your third movie and transition into that. That would be sick.
I feel like that'd be an series in itself. It's oh
yeah, good.
Why am I blanking out? It's like in the Rebirth, it's what's the dead Superman called again? I'm blanking out on his name.
The dead
like the zombie Superman guy.
Oh, Bizarro,
and I think is it Starfire? Mm-hmm. No, it's not. It's why am I blanking out so bad? It's like
Speedy in that.
So he is. So in New 52, Speedy is in that. And it's like, I think it's Speedy, Starfire, and Red Hood. But in Rebirth, it's Bizarro, and it's an Amazonian. I forget her name. But, there's plenty of characters that can be introduced, to be cohorts with the Red Hood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome choice, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I like that.
I think we're going to start the next round, the last round, right? Finals.
Yeah, dude. So this is my final, which I took me like freaking forever to try to decide on something. And I wanted to do a female. And I thought, well, what female do I think could deserve a movie that hasn't had one already? So I started to dig through the trash like the question does. And I found Storm from X-Men.
Wow.
And I thought, you know what? Shit, I know. And I've always loved the character of Storm, so it was a little biased. And I just feel as if Storm, we've had so many renditions of X-Men, and I feel like, and it's not her fault, but Halle Berry's portrayal of Storm, I feel like even though those movies were an ensemble piece, it was very Logan heavy and very Rogue heavy.
Yeah.
And then with the newer X-Men films, I think they introduced Storm briefly and maybe Apocalypse, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And had her like 80s look with the mohawk and stuff like that, which I think is a really sick look, and that's preferably my favorite. But I just thought Storm, you have this individual who comes from a line of African witches, and I believe her mother was a witch, and then had married her father, who I think was just a regular human being. But I just think that I think that a character like Storm could really help introduce mutants. I think her story is compelling enough. I think she's a strong enough character to even rival with, say, Wolverine. And I know that might be a controversial thing. I think X-Men, that's the first character we think of. But I think Storm deserves her time. I think she is a strong enough, a compelling enough character who could even be compared to, on the DC end, say, Wonder Woman. I really do. I really think that she could match up, with a character as prominent as Wonder Woman is. So I just think that I think Storm, again, would be a strong, compelling character. I know that eventually in the comics, she develops a relationship with Black Panther. And now, of course, with the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman, I don't think we know what road they're going to take with that. But I think if you're going to introduce X-Men at some point and introduce the concept of mutants, I mean, what better way to introduce a character like Storm, who would just fit in nicely with, eventually developing a relationship with Black Panther, and then we're all happy, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think she's someone who could have her own film, and I think a lot of people would gravitate towards that. I think it would do well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good pick, man. It's
Thanks, dude.
not necessarily one that people would probably think about off the top of their head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good thinking there. And like you said, the transition from like solo film and then being integrated into like the MCU, like they're gonna start doing with the X-Men. It seems like it would be really seamless, and it would be a nice transition.
I thought do something different. Don't introduce Cyclops or Wolverine at first. I think you introduce a character like Storm. Mm-hmm. Someone who I feel is extremely strong, but continuously in movies for some reason is always in the background.
Yeah.
When I remember from the 90s X-Men series, I feel was a very prominent character.
Especially in the animated series,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, stood in the forefront. I mean, alongside of Jean Grey even, as a potential leader of the X-Men.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's funny because when I think of X-Men, like especially through the animated from the 90s, when I was a kid, it was Wolverine wasn't like a big stick out to me. It was, a Cyclops, it was Storm, and it was Jean Grey. Those were the, for me, the big three of the X-Men. And, Wolverine did his part, and he is, if not one of the strongest or the strongest character in the X-Men, but, Cyclops, the guy who always had to keep his freaking shades down, and Jean Grey, who we know how powerful she is within becoming the Dark Phoenix, and Storm. She has the ability to control the weather around that, and Mother Nature can be very dangerous, and if controlled by someone, can be even more dangerous. So I mean, it's it's a nod to the character herself that she does it for good and not for evil.
Yeah,
I feel like Rogue was really prominent too in the animated series.
Yeah.
More, like you said, Ty, like more so than Wolverine sometimes. I can remember that. I used to love that cartoon.
It's fantastic. Disney Plus, watch it now.
Oh yeah.
That's right. Good pull.
Oh yeah. I might have to go revisit that. I remember I still remember the theme song. Like I can remember how it sounded.
I put it on when Disney Plus was first out. I put it on just to sing to Jess because I was so excited to sing not only the X-Men animated but the Spider-Man animated.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Love those.
Yeah. Good theme song.
Shall we?
Yeah.
All right, guys, this is my last one. This is still sticking with DC again. Um, I'm gonna go with Lobo to have his own movie.
Oh,
And I'll just give like a little brief overview. Lobo is an alien, and he works as an interstellar mercenary and bounty hunter. Originally, he was written as a villain, but it wasn't received well, and kind of fell into like a writer's purgatory for, I think it was like 10 years or something. But when he was reintroduced, he was kind of changed into more of like a gritty biker anti-hero character. And his powers are, he's got super strength and speed, pretty much almost on par with Superman. They've actually clashed multiple times before, and it either ends in a draw, or Lobo gets bored and he leaves because he can't be killed. He regenerates. He's pretty much invincible. He can regenerate from, if he's demolished into a pool of blood, he can come back. So he just can't be killed. He's a master tracker, and he can speak over 17,000 languages. So he's really interesting. What really sold me on this decision, I was looking through some of the comics that he did, and there's one from 1991, and it's called The Lobo Paramilitary Christmas. And I'm just going to read you guys the description of this, so that way I think it's a pretty accurate description about who Lobo is. So, when Lobo is en route to a bar, he meets with an intoxicated Easter Bunny. Sick of all the holiday cheer, the Easter Bunny has had enough and wants the man responsible to pay. So he hires Lobo to kill Santa. Getting off to the North Pole, Lobo crashes Santa's workshop and mows down everything he sees, including the poor helpless elves. This leaves Lobo to go after his bounty. In steps Santa, who isn't a jolly fat man in a red suit. In this version, he's a lover of mindless violence, armed to the teeth and protected by a giant gorilla named Kong. In true Christmas spirit, Santa is decapitated, and then Lobo is put off outside to execute him. So there's that.
There's that. That's it. There's that.
Got a love of space dolphins. He's obsessed with them, and it often clouds his judgment and actions. So he's actually bonded with Aquaman over, because Aquaman, is in control of all the. Kevin's cracking me.
Sorry. Who isn't in love with space?
He just loves space dolphins, right?
Space
Space
dolphins.
dolphins. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
So just really like kind of out there sort of like concept, but I think that it would be pretty cool to see something like that. Just like a really fucking off the wall sort of character.
Dude, I agree.
Well.
He was on my list.
Dude.
He was 100% on my list, and it's just the character of Lobo itself is so interesting. And for me, I think I've been more of as like a TV series of like Dog the Bounty Hunter, but Lobo.
Yeah, Lobo the Bounty Hunter.
Right. But like there's so many interesting stories, and like I watched Krypton. There was 2 seasons of that, and it was fantastic. I'm sad that it was discontinued, but they had Lobo there too, and he was such just an interesting part of that series, and I want him to be more fleshed out. I want to see more of him. I want his own series. I want his own film. And there's so much fun with him, interacting with the Justice League, with villains. Like he just expands against everything. So, I agree with that big time, man.
Oh yeah, sometimes he's with the Justice League, sometimes he's against them. It's hard to pinpoint like where he's going to be at a certain time, but
he's in the Justice League of America in Rebirth. Batman recruits him. So I mean, he does bad, he does good. He's all over the place.
I was just laughing. I was like, dude, he crashes Santa's workshop and mows down everything he sees. He's just mowing everything down.
I'm honestly surprised that they haven't done a Lobo series yet. I think a lot of people have been asking for that, and especially when we've been getting stuff like Deadpool, and how well that's worked. I think like Lobo could be like DC's Deadpool in a way. Yeah. And I think Ty, I think you're onto something as a series. I think if you had this crazy, ridiculous series that's just like extreme like violence and comedy, similar to like, I know we say it all the time, but like something like The Boys, even. I don't see where Lobo honestly wouldn't work.
And
for people that actually know the character,
and have him as a series taking out the Justice League. Like it could be a separate branch of a different reality where he just literally takes out the Justice League because people hire him to take out Superman, take out Batman, take out Wonder Woman. Like that would be interesting. That'd be different. there's this being that not many people outside the comic book realm know that's taking out their favorite heroes. Like, come on, that sells his fucking self.
I think it would be interesting because we're so used to, especially with what we just got with the Snyder cut and everything, how serious characters like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were taken. I think to have a Lobo series and almost poke fun at how serious Batman is all the time, and this is coming from a Batman fan, I think would be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And to kind of see it from Lobo's perspective and just kind of poke fun at how serious some of these characters take themselves, and to have a Lobo to kind of counterbalance that.
Yeah.
Shit, you know what, man? Shit, I want a Lobo series now.
Yeah.
I convinced myself.
Yeah,
that
I was
I
pumped.
think this needs to happen.
I was pumped when I was reading it. I mean, like, you just see him riding away on space dolphins, you know? So, like you'd have the Lobo Christmas special, and then he just goes and adopts that story.
Be amazing.
Like, it just
I'm all for it.
starts with him by a fire, and he's like reading a book, and he's got a Santa hat on.
Yes.
And then it like zooms into the book, and then boom, it's like the whole Christmas special that he was reading to. I'm just saying, HBO Max, talk to us. Heroes and Brews, let us know.
Calm down, Jeff Johns, all right?
Yeah, Jeff Johns, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Sorry.
I'm glad you guys
Yeah,
like
dude, bravo.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Very good choice, man.
All right, so my last choice is, from the Justice League Dark side, it's, so she was announced to have a movie recently within the last month, and who knows if it happens, and this is why I'm picking her as the choice, because, we've been told we're going to have a Justice League Dark film that didn't happen. There's plenty of films that we were told were going to happen and did not happen, but Zatanna, man, she is so underrated, one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe, and I would just love for her story to get out there. So she followed her dad, Zatara, who was a stage magician and an actual magician, just like herself. And when she was 18, Allura, who is like her, kind of like her arch nemesis in a way, was fighting her father. Her father put her away into, I forget, some artifact. It was some sword of some kind. And when he did that, he was cursed and he could not, interact with his kin, whether directly or indirectly, or death would occur. So this 18-year-old Zatanna, her father disappears and she doesn't know why, right? So she tries to figure out and tries to find out what's going on, and Allura plays off of this and, tries to get her to interact with her father so death occurs. And there's an evil Allura and a non-evil Allura. And I think the way for my idea for a solo film is you get away with the evil and the good Allura, and you just make her the overall arching enemy for Zatanna, because she did get rid of her father. I think that in itself, people searching for a loved one is a great story for a film. I think her as herself, the hero that we, many people don't know of her. She can master the dark arts. She masters magic, and she can wipe people's minds. So, her character itself can do a lot of things. And I would love to see her, in the forefront of the DC universe, because she can kick ass and make you forget about it. right after, And it gives ties to, John Constantine, to Swamp Thing, to Deadman. It can lead to, a Justice League Dark film. It could lead to, a huge face-off with Trigon. Like, there's so much you can do with the magical realm within DC, and I think Zatanna would be a great start to that. A lot of people, know John Constantine. Matt Ryan plays the best John Constantine we'll ever see, and I'll go down by saying that. But I think Zatanna is right there with him, or maybe even above him, and I think she deserves to have her spotlight.
You don't think Keanu Reeves was a better Constantine?
No.
That's very quick.
He didn't even think about it. Good choice, man. I was thinking of Justice League Dark and the different characters in there, and I kept thinking Swamp Thing because I always loved Swamp Thing ever since I was little, and
his live
but I knew
action
we just
series is freaking amazing.
We just had that, so I thought, I don't know, and and that sort of just felt like a really long movie. And then I thought of Dead Man, but then I thought, will he have his own solo movie? Is he deserving of that? But I agree, man. I think Zatanna, out of all of them, is someone who definitely deserves her own solo film.
Yeah.
I think it would work well. I do.
I was actually, it was either between her or Nightwing. And if I would have picked her, it's funny, right? Because I would have crossed over with either one of you guys, whichever would have picked. But I was thinking about having her because we don't have that magical element in the DC yet. In any of these movies, well, the live action movies, it's never been discussed or brought up. So I mean, and it's very much a part of canon for that. So it would be cool to see that. First of all, it would rival Doctor Strange for Marvel. It would be she would be the Doctor Strange of DC.
Yeah.
Which would be really cool, and I think that you're right. Like it would translate really well in the film, and she can jump in and out of the Justice League and help them too, if they need it. And then like you said, spin off to Justice League Dark, and then start telling those stories too. So, solid pick, dude. Because I was right on the fence with wanting to pick that. But yeah, awesome.
I just love the magical side of the DC universe. Like, not many people know about those characters and their backstories and how much influence they have within the major fights within the DC universe, and especially in the comics. And there's so many characters there that even the villains that are so intriguing. Titans touched upon it. Between Raven and Trigon, and obviously her father is Trigon, this evil demon who's looking to take over Earth. But like, it's such a fun element. Yes, you can tease about the magician and the fun here, hocus pocus, Flash, whatever. But in the DC universe, magic is taken seriously. It's one of Superman's weaknesses. So like, bringing that in, I think would be amazing.
So good, man. It can, like, if Zack Snyder were to bring that in, because if Superman turns, obviously he succumbs to the anti-life, right? So that's one of his weaknesses, and she can come in and help, and like that's their ace in the hole, and it comes out of nowhere, right? Like that would be cool too. So there's definitely a place for it, dude. And I think you hit it right on the head.
Yeah. And even watching like Justice League Apocalypse War, like Constantine was Batman's ace in the hole, even though Zatanna was succumbed to death at that point. Yeah. And he felt he was the reason behind the death, but it was she pushed him away on purpose to keep him alive. It's just like at the end of the day, the magic side of the DC is that ace in the hole at all times.
They haven't explored that yet, and they should. And I'm sure that they will at some point, right? I mean, because that's a whole world to
Dr. Fate, Black Adam, baby.
Yeah,
it's coming soon.
I think they're doing a. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know the Justice League Dark, just the Justice League Dark in general has been brought up multiple times. I think Guillermo del Toro was tied onto the project for a while, which really got me excited. He was behind Hellboy and all that, and I thought, if anybody's going to do Justice League Dark, it's that dude, because that's just right up his alley. And it never happened. But there is some sort of Justice League Dark thing going on, right? Is it going to be an HBO Max series or?
I heard it's supposed to be an HBO Max series, but I don't know if it's confirmed yet. It was talked about, but I don't think it's confirmed.
I think it's missed potential right there. I think the Justice League Dark characters, especially after something like the Snyderverse, and I know everybody wants them to continue and stuff, and I'm a part of that, but I'm starting to deal with the fact that I don't think it's going to happen. But I think I'm not trying to, man. I just I don't know.
Listen,
it's tough, but
they put Matt Reeves' Batman on Earth 2 for a reason.
For a reason. That is true, man. I was thinking about that too. Why would you release something like that? Like what would you have to release that?
I don't know, because, and I'm not understanding like why they're, what is their point of saying that, like,
because they want to continue with the Snyderverse and make it a multiverse. Keep the faith. Keep the faith, because it's gonna happen. I have full faith. Listen, it might not be this year, it might not be next year, but I think the powers above within the DC world are going to create a Snyderverse for us to enjoy.
Listen. I hope so, and I'll be the first. The Rock. Well, I think The Rock has enough money to start his own streaming service and just to buy out WB and HBO Max and AT&T altogether.
I'm not gonna tell him no. I'm not gonna tell him no.
Listen, I'll be the first one to be in line if movie theaters are ever a thing again, or be in line to download it or whatever on my streaming service for the Snyderverse. I want that, and I'm not. That's the thing. I don't want to be negative, but it's just at some point I start to think like I just don't know if this is going to happen. But what I'm trying to say is because we've gotten that, I think the Justice League Dark is a completely different side that we've never seen before, and I think has a lot of potential, and I think would do well right now. We just got the core Justice League members, and I think to look at a different side of that would be something that is just missed potential. I think to me, I think those characters are all very interesting. I think can stand on their own. I don't know if they could go toe to toe, so to speak, with the Justice. I mean, they are who they are. I mean, you can't really touch them. But I just think it's an interesting path to go down, and I'm really surprised that nobody has taken advantage of this yet. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe eventually, we'll see.
Well, those were all awesome picks, guys. This is really fun.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Well, for all of you watching and listening, give us your ideas of who you would love to see have their own solo film or their own solo TV series, because there's plenty of characters who deserve that spotlight. You know, I had like 9, I think, written down, and for the sake of time, we need to cut it down to 3 each. So you got, I guess 8 because you guys had a similar one. But, there's so many characters out there that deserve some spotlight and deserve to be in the forefront. So let us know, because we want to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Special, we'll say, like, one of them I had was Martian Manhunter.
Hell yeah.
We need that. Even a Batwoman film. We don't have that either. So there was a couple of them I was looking at. I was like, all right, well, but I mean, we just saw Martian Manhunter on screen, so I didn't want to bring that up, but to get his own solo film, I think, would be really beneficial too, to make people care about him, because I feel like people saw it who don't know too much, and they were like, "Who the hell is this?" Like, what the?
That's what I think.
No, it's true.
It's a really good point. And Batwoman, I mean, we have a series I've never watched, but actually, the Batwoman series, we've had like 15 different Batwomen on the series, right? Yeah. Is that what's going on right now?
2. Come on. 2.
They're recasting for next week.
Ruby
too.
Rose,
That's what I'm saying.
She didn't understand the workflow that came with being the lead of a series, so she backed out, and then they casted anew.
Give me a break.
I agree.
That's insane.
As always, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate the support. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, Marcus, Kev, it's an honor. It's a privilege.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, guys.